Sunday, everybody. Now, last we spoke about independence, identity, and healthier choices. But there is one more layer to prosperity that almost nobody wants to touch: the big systems, institutions, politics, power, the rules behind the rules. The question is simple. Are these systems designed to save us? Or do we have to save ourselves by how we engage with them?
Family, welcome to the final episode in our series on sustainable prosperity, the 4 I's. We started with independence, becoming less dependent on external approval from others and more anchored in our own initiative. We moved into identity, building a stronger sense of who you are and what you stand for. We looked at internal institutions, your habits, your discipline, your mindset, the policies you run inside your own life.
But today, we zoom out to the fourth I, institutions, the political, economic, and social systems that shape your everyday life, whether you pay attention to them or not. South Africa is struggling. We live with corruption, slow growth, rising costs, and a youth population that is growing faster than the job market can absorb. Many people feel lost, angry, or entitled, believing that the state owes them a life, even when they're not willing to build one. But here is the truth. Politics is not a magic wand, and institutions cannot carry citizens who refuse to carry themselves.
So, in this episode, we are going to unpack 3 things. 1, what institutions actually do and what they cannot do. 2, how the numbers expose the gap between citizens and systems. And 3, how you can engage politics, institutions as a tool, not a savior, while building your own agency. So let's start with some of the misunderstandings. Most people have an unbalanced relationship with institutions. On one side, you have people who overestimate institutions, where they expect government to provide everything, fix everything, and babysit everyone. If there is no job, it is the state's fault. If there is no progress, it is the system's fault. The citizen is only a victim. And then on the other side, you have people who underestimate institutions. They say politics is dirty. It doesn't matter. I'll just hustle and mind my own business. They ignore how laws, regulations, budgets, and policies quietly shape the opportunities they have access to. So here is the reality. Institutions shape the playing field, where strong institutions set the rules, protect rights, create stability, regulate markets, enable or block opportunity, and fight or enable corruption.
But there are a couple of things institutions cannot do for you. 1, they cannot give you ambition. 2, they cannot force your discipline. 3, they cannot guarantee your wealth. And 4, they cannot replace your personal responsibility. Prosperity is therefore a partnership between strong institutions and strong citizens. If you only fix the citizen and ignore the system, you hit a ceiling. Conversely, if you only fix the system and ignore the citizen, you create dependency. To see how deep this problem runs, we need to look at the numbers.
So now we'll do a data check. We'll start with youth unemployment versus the national unemployment for the second quarter of 2025. So according to Statistics South Africa, in the second quarter of 2025, the official unemployment rate for the country as a whole was about 33.2%. But for young people, it was far worse. Youth aged 15 to 24 faced an unemployment rate of 62.2%, and those aged 25 to 34 at 40.5%. That means a young South African between 15 and 24 is almost twice as likely to be unemployed as the average adult, and young adults up to 34 are also above the national rate. When you see the graph that is on your screen, you see three bars. One, you see the national unemployment rate. Two, you see the unemployment for youth aged 25 to 34. And lastly, you see unemployment for youth aged 15 to 24. Visually, it is obvious. The younger you are, the more the system is failing to absorb you. This is what we mean when we say the current model is not sustainable. Institutions are not creating enough entry points for young people, but that is not the end of the story. In the second graph, we look at the NEET rate for youth aged 15 to 24 and 15 to 34 for the third quarter of 2023 versus the third quarter of 2024. So this is another thing that Stats SA tracks, and it is another critical indicator. NEET stands for not in employment, education, or training. And in the third quarter of 2023, about 32.6% of youth aged 15 to 24 were NEET. 1 year later, in Q3 2024, that had risen to 34.2% for youth aged 15 to 34. The NEET rate climbed from 42 to 43% over the same period. When the second graph appears on your screen, you see two age groups, 15 to 24 and 15 to 34, with bars for 2023 and 2024 respectively. The story is simple. More young people are drifting outside both the job market and the education system. This is not just an economic issue, it is a social risk. A generation disconnected from both work and learning is a generation vulnerable to manipulation, crime, and hopelessness.
So the data tells us two things. One, the labor market is not absorbing young people at the pace that it should. And two, too many young South Africans are stuck on the sidelines, neither earning nor learning. Now, it would be easy to stop here and say, the system is broken, we are doomed, but that is not the vision way. We use the data to wake up, not to give up. Let us look at what is possible when citizens engage institutions differently. Now, the following two stories are based on real case studies. The locations have also been kept true. However, the names have been changed to one, protect the identity of the individual, and two, to keep up with journalistic standards. Now, Thabo is from Johannesburg. He grew up in Alexandra, surrounded by potholes, broken street lights, and slow service delivery. He could have chosen to complain on social media and wait for the municipality to change. Instead, he did something different. He used free online coding tutorials to teach himself basic web and mobile development. Then he created a simple civic tech tool, an app that lets residents report potholes and service issues. Each report is geotagged, sent directly to the ward office, and publicly tracked so that the community can see how long it takes to respond. At first, only a few people used it, but as local journalists and community groups picked it up, pressure increased. Some ward councillors started responding faster, not because they had suddenly become saints, but because there was now data and public visibility. Thabo did not fix government. He did something smarter. He leveraged the institutional structure that already exists. He used the rules, the wards, the reporting lines, but he added citizen power transparency on top. Today, Thabo runs a small civic tech microfirm, building tools for NGOs and local governments. His prosperity story came from engaging the system with skill, not waiting passively for the system to rescue him.
That's a brilliant story, and lots that we can learn from Thabo in this instance about taking ownership of your own problems that you need to solve as a community. And then the second story takes us to Durban as the geographic location with a nurse by the name of Nomvula. So Nomvula for years has worked long shifts at an understaffed clinic, earning just enough to survive. She heard about a Department of Health upskilling program that was aligned with SADC's regional health strategy and supported by the African Union's push for digital health. Many colleagues ignored it. They saw more paperwork, more training, same salary. But Nomvula saw an opening. She joined the program, upgraded her qualifications, and learned digital record keeping and telehealth tools. When an African Union supported telehealth project expanded in her region, she was perfectly positioned. She moved into a hybrid role, partly clinical, partly digital, serving more patients remotely and earning a higher income. Her income did not double because a politician changed her life. It doubled because she used the institutional opportunity, which was the program, the policy, and the regional health plan that came about afterwards. And she combined it with her own commitment to learn.
Now, these stories show us something important. Institutions can create channels, but citizens have to walk through them. Data and digital tools are increasingly the language of power. And lastly, that prosperity today is less about waiting and more about participating. Now let's connect this to the global skills picture. For a mindset shift, we consider a graph. And according to the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs analysis, employers surveyed in 2023 said that 44% of workers' core skills would change within the next 5 years. In the 2025 update, they expect about 39% of today's core skills to change by 2030. In simple language, almost half of what makes you employable is in motion. 44%, the share of core job skills expected to change within 5 years. That was in 2023, so that means the years have now dropped down to 3. And then 39%, the share expected to change by 2030. The exact numbers mean less than the direction. We are living in a world where skills are continuously being rewritten. And so the question is not, will AI or policy change my job? The question is, will I and my institutions adapt fast enough?
So here is the mindset shift that we need. One is that institutions are a tool, but not a savior. So government, regulators, universities, and regional bodies are platforms that you can plug into, but they are not your parents. You do not sit and wait for them. You learn how they work and you use them. And then 2, prosperity requires strong systems plus strong citizens. So if the system is weak but the citizen is strong, you get hustle but it doesn't scale. And then if the system is strong but the citizen is weak, you get citizens who are dependent, who have no agency. But we do need both. We need better systems and braver, more skilled citizens, which leads us into point number 3, is that accountability only works when citizens participate. So these are during elections, public hearings, ward committees, and open data portals. They only matter if you and I, as the people, show up, ask questions, and follow the money.
Then, point 4, future fit politics is transparent, data driven, and citizen powered. The future of governance is not just speeches, it is dashboards, service level data, budget transparency, and citizen feedback loops. If you can read a graph, you can read your country's direction. And the last and fifth point, personal agency is non negotiable. You might not control macroeconomics, but you do control your learning pace, your skills stack, and your level of engagement. Institutions set the stage, but citizens choose how they play on it. Now, lastly, we mention a few actionable steps, and we bring it down to practical steps for the week, and they are 5 moves that you can make. Firstly, learn how one public institution works. Pick one, your municipality, a government department, a TVET college, a public health clinic, even parliament. Spend 1 hour on this week learning how it is structured, who makes what decisions, how an ordinary citizen can give input or lodge a concern. 2, engage instead of complaining. Instead of only posting rants online, choose one issue that bothers you. For example, water outages, street safety, clinic queues. And use the official channels once. Log a ticket, attend a ward meeting, send an email, submit a comment on a bill. Make the complaint leave your phone and enter the system. Third, build skill capability monthly. Look at the World Economic Forum skills disruption data. If almost half of core skills are changing, you cannot afford to go 6 months without learning something new. Choose one skill, digital, analytical, communicative, or leadership, and commit to one specific learning action every month, whether it is a course, a workshop, or a project.
And then 4 is where you could hold leaders accountable using public data. This is a great thing to practice. So most budgets, performance reports, and labor market stats are public, which means you do not need a PhD to read a simple chart as well. When you see a politician promising jobs, go back to the numbers. What is the unemployment rate in your province? What is the NEET rate doing? Where is the money actually going? Ask better questions using better data. And then lastly, strengthen your own internal institutions, which are your habits, your calendar, your values, your boundaries. These are the laws running inside your life. Tighten one policy this week. Maybe you sleep better. Maybe your financial tracking improves. Maybe your study schedule or how you manage your phone is improved. Strong external institutions without strong internal ones will not create prosperity. So prosperity is built where strong institutions meet strong citizens. We cannot wait for a perfect government, a perfect economy, or a perfect global system. But we also cannot pretend that systems do not matter. Our power is in the partnership, using data, skills, and collective pressure to improve institutions while we build ourselves from the inside out.
If this episode challenged the way that you see politics and systems, share it with someone who is stuck in either blind faith or total cynicism. And if you want more tools, data, and stories to build sustainable prosperity. Follow the Vision Media WhatsApp channel and stay in the conversation. Remember, we are not passengers in the system, but co authors of it. Thank you. See you next time.
See you next Sunday. Peace out.